Welcome, patrons, to the spa of self-love. Here we walk you through why most of your problems are probably all your fault. Our specialty here is moderately actionable advice. This spa is different from every other spa that you've ever been to. We offer the unique experience of making you do everything yourself. No handouts. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps and work. It's like nobody wants to work these days. Got you with that title, didn't I? Huh? You little self-hating bitch. Sorry, that was a joke. Kind of. But that is what this video is about. I want to dive into what feels like YouTube and TikTok's favorite new meta, the self-improvement meta. I try to stay off of TikTok due to medical reasons, so thanks to that, the majority of self-help stuff that I get fed is through YouTube, meaning it's all long form, baby. Making this video is kind of interesting for me because I don't actually inherently have a problem with this type of content. I just think the fact that it's blown up so much is just super interesting. We had the beauty gurus, the family vloggers, the sketch comics, and now conventionally attractive white women telling us how to be better. Which is kind of a direct response, I think, to the panorama. I think it was kind of a shock to the system when people had so much more free time than they've ever had. And like, it's a really interesting thing when you go from like having no time to suddenly having a ton of ownership over your own time again. And because of that, I feel like a lot of people had the urge to like speed run their self-improvement. Like, dude, we haven't had time to eat well, work out, and self-reflect since the early 2000s recession, all right? We gotta do this now. We were all operating like a car that's just not been serviced in like a decade. That check engine light has been on for eons. I think the most famous one right now is thewizardliz. It's relatable, you know, it feels like you're on a FaceTime with a well-meaning but preachy friend.
Is it a game? Like, I don't know, are you playing a game? Like, how much more can you embarrass yourself? Like, I want you to go to a shoe site, yeah? Like any shoe site, whatever, wshoe.com, and click your pair, like your shoe size, whatever, and I want you to find clown shoes, yeah? When you find the clown shoes, I want you to take them and put them on, because that's literally what you are. You're just a clown.
And a lot of people have very mixed feelings about her. Some people like to compare her to Andrew Tate, which is insane. It's always super interesting to me the things that men and women have to do to warrant the same level of vitriol from people online. Like her or not, as far as we know right now, she's not dealing with a human trafficking case. So that comparison is crazy. But I feel the reason why, though, that this type of content has blown up is because despite the fact that it's not necessarily dangerous to anybody, it's still quite divisive. The underlying message of a lot of it is very pick yourself up by your bootstraps, which can resonate with some people and can be a sore spot for a lot of people. I think the messenger does matter sometimes with how you're going to receive the message. Like, I feel like the rise of these people is all alongside the rise of like the clean girl aesthetic, the working out, living this healthy kind of minimal life era. And I think it makes sense because after the opulence era and the beauty guru era and the overconsumption era, the response to that was kind of just to do the opposite. It was a lot more minimal of a lifestyle. And thus, I think when it came to how to show you're wealthy and your life is better than everyone else, because you're really good at taking care of yourself. Rather than having tons of money, tons of stuff, tons of makeup, your wealth is more to do with that you work out, that you drink green juice, that you wear minimal makeup, which is super funny because the chapstick and mascara girlies used to be a meme, and now we're becoming them. I think ultimately it does boil down to a lot of just being a show of class. I've always felt online that to some degree, you do need to have some measure of opulence for things to be interesting. What's changed is the new way of communicating that opulence. The clean girl aesthetic and the healthy lifestyle is still very expensive. Maintaining your body at a level that you can always be naturally pretty costs a lot of money. What it takes to be able to live alone, which many of these people do, go to all the workout classes that they do, have the time to do what they do, usually lends itself to probably having a lot of money. It's kind of become the new girl boss. Like, rather than girl bossing in a way that's like working at a Fortune 500 company, climbing the corporate ladder, now you're kind of communicating your independence by the fact that you don't need to do that. You just live your life and romanticize your life as is, and that's kind of where we're at. It's the idea of the girl boss that's been repackaged for an up-and-coming generation of women who will probably never be able to achieve what the girl boss did. The girl boss could buy a house. No one below 30 can do that. The girl boss can work herself up the corporate ladder. These corporations are exploiting our labor so much, we'll never do that either. The girl boss just cannot appeal, I think, to anyone under 30 because it is just not possible, really. We needed a different type of girl boss, and she needs to be giving us advice in a kind of nice but preachy way. It's almost like an infinity stone kind of thing. Spirituality, health and wellness, and hustle culture all combined to nuke the universe. Or rather, just give us like this new meta of self-improvement, I guess. But I think what is so interesting to me is ultimately how neutral it is. It's all quite surface level, but ultimately uncombative enough to ever be dangerous or threatening to people. And I think that's why people eat it up so much. I do think, as I said before, the messenger has a lot to do with how we receive the message. And I don't mean this in any way that's actually meant to insult anybody who makes this kind of content. I don't hate this kind of content, and I've watched some of these videos before. It's not about hating it. But the reality is that most of what these videos are saying are not groundbreaking stuff. You know, as much as Andrew Tate's fanboys like to say, yo, he's spitting, he's really not. If we want to move the human trafficking to the side for a second and look at some of the things that he said, most of it is advice you've probably heard before. I saw a clip of him one time, I think on the Fresh and Fit podcast, and he was basically saying that sometimes when you have a headache, you don't need ibuprofen. It might just be that you're thirsty, hungry, or tired.
If you have a headache, it's for a reason. Did you hit your head? Yes or no? Well, no, you didn't hit your head. So are you dehydrated? Probably. Have you drunk a bunch of water? If you really drink a bunch of water and you didn't hit your head and your head still hurts, have you laid down, had a little nap? Maybe you were tired. Now you feel okay. Why are you taking drugs? You can't just go through life medicating yourself for imaginary fucking illness. It's dumb.
Andrew Tate invents eating food, drinking water, and resting as a way to deal with bodily discomfort. More at 11. Because so much of what is wrapped up in masculinity is so associated with very toxic behaviors, a lot of people who are in the pursuit of masculinity end up looking up to people like this who seem like a body of masculinity. Like, is he actually saying anything groundbreaking? No, but it's him who's saying it. And something about his demeanor is giving the manly man. The type of man that if you're in pursuit of masculinity, you want to be like. The type of man that if you feel like your masculinity is threatened to some degree, you want to follow. And I'm not comparing the Wizard Liz to Andrew Tate. While I do not think their messages are anything comparable, and I do not think them as people are anything comparable, I think the reasons for their success is comparable. And she's giving good advice. None of it is anything that I would necessarily tell someone not to follow. Most of it is stuff that you've probably heard elsewhere. Your mama's probably told you that same shit before, but you didn't listen to her. And again, I think it's the fact that it's coming from her. I think that physically, how she looks and behaves is such an embodiment of what many young girls want to be that taking the advice from her just makes sense. Is the advice necessarily any better because it comes from someone who looks like they should be the one to give this advice? No. The coaches don't always play. But I think subconsciously it's way easier to take seriously advice about fitness from someone who is a very good athlete. And as I mentioned before when I was talking about class, I think also a big reason why it's blowing up right now has a lot to do with timing. Because the girls are broke. The recession is recessioning. The girlies are getting laid off. We are hungry, we are tired, we are homeless, and we are sad. And I feel like psychologically during times like this, something happens to people. I'm saying I feel like that. There's actually a lot of data to support that something does happen to you psychologically when people are dealing with financial stress. I'm saying this from a somewhat personal place too. I think it's nice to be able to feel in control to some degree of what you're doing. Because I think a shift that happened, even when it comes to like, and I bring them up all the time, the alpha males and the rise of the incel and all that, I feel like it gives us all this weird sense of control over a situation that we just don't have control over. A lot of the advice that you're getting from the Wizard Liz, while it is very bootstrappy, a lot of it is very doable. A lot of it involves journaling, setting boundaries, doing what you do to get a job, get your money up instead of your funny. It's all attached to class and materialism, but in a way that feels more attainable. The girl boss era of the early 2000s was very materialistic. And I do think on the opposing side, a lot of the content that was targeted more towards young boys and men is still very materialistic. It's a lot of cars, money, and girls. Are girls material? The streets have been saying yes. But ultimately, a lot of what like the Wizard Liz is talking about and a lot of the other self-help girlies are talking about are a lot more doable and attainable than the materialism of the girl boss era. In a lot of ways, the pursuit of just being a better version of yourself, of just being healthier, feels a lot more doable. And despite the fact that a lot of these videos don't really confront privilege a ton, a lot of the advice that is given is malleable. You can, if you want, probably find a way to make it work for you. Even if you can't get a gym membership, you can probably go on a hot girl walk. But it's that attainable opulence that keeps people interested. I think a big part of it too is that most of them usually aren't selling anything, which also gives it a more genuine feel. Someone who actually wants to help you and not just sell you a drop shipping course. And I guess if they are selling anything, they're selling fantasy, all right? It's maladaptive daydreaming 101. The end goal, I think, still leans pretty heavily into materialism in class, because I do believe how you look and how you present yourself is a very big indicator of class. Will you ever be the Wizard Liz? No, but you can try. So what was the point of this video and what is the wrap up? I see a lot of comments under these type of influencer videos, both the malignant and the safe type of influencers, from people saying that these influencers save their lives. And I guess all I would say is, no, they didn't. You did that shit, all right? Don't give that credit to some random person online. You did that shit and you should be proud of yourself for it. And you deserve that credit. And that was the video. Thank you so much for watching. Me and the sirens outside, as usual, are thankful that you watched. If you have any strong feelings about this, let me know. If you like to watch people like the Wizard Liz and her peers, let me know. And if you've made it all the way to the end, I am grateful. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you in the next one.